that introduction. Amazing. Okay, so we are going to start. My biggest concern, I know Jess was too, that we only have a half hour. Okay, we were trying to keep this one within a half hour. So very quickly though, I'm going to start with a quick story. So Jess, a couple months ago, had messaged me, and we were kind of like Instagram friends, not in real life friends. And this is where I say social media is used for good. Anyone that knows me knows that I do not respond to anything ever. I do in my head, but then I'm like the worst texter ever. And so she had sent me a message, and I think it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to finally get back to her. I was like, oh, I forgot to answer that. And so I messaged her back, and she had said, hey, I know we don't really know each other, but would you be willing to meet? Would you be willing to interview me? I just wrote a book. And I said, yeah, I would love that. Would you like to come try a class? I own a gym, for those of you that don't know, in town. And I got to be honest, a lot of people say, yeah, I'd love to, and then they never come. And she said, absolutely, I'll be there tomorrow morning. So the next morning, she shows up at the gym at the same time as my other friends who are also here, Jane and Isa. I had invited them to a class, and they showed up. And so we all were at this class, and I introduced Jess to Jane and Isa.
While we were running. We were running, and she was like, okay, Jess, let's go. Tell us about your book. Let's go.
Yes, actually, yeah, we were running, we were warming up, running around. Yes, that's exactly true. And they were like, oh, you wrote a book. And so then immediately after the class, they all exchanged phone numbers. And then that next week, Jane was doing an event with all women and our other friend, Dr. Diana Hill. And we go to that, and Jess had showed up and brought her friends. And this was like a chain reaction of women supporting women. And then all of a sudden, these two are going to classes every day and getting coffee and taking me out of the text. What's up with that? But now we're all like going to work out together. We're going to get coffee. We're throwing ideas of what we're going to do and how we're going to motivate each other and how we're going to change the world. And I'm telling you that because you never know what's going to happen by simply asking one for help. Jess needed some help. She didn't know me. I could have very easily said no, but she put herself on a limb and said, hey, will you help me with the launch of my book? I said, absolutely. Then she was willing to come. She supported my business. Then willing to meet new friends, immediately exchange numbers. So with that being said, we're going to need everybody to stand up and meet one person you don't know right now. Right up and move around. Meet somebody you don't know. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Kristen. Are you fun? Yes, I do too. I just don't go to 6:30. Like, the earliest I can make it is 7:30. Okay, so now that we're all friends,
No more talking.
We do really want to have an open conversation. That is exactly who Jess and I are. We're very open people, and I would like to emphasize, right when we came in, these two fabulous ladies who I know, they were saying, oh, we have a hiking group, and we've put this book out to our hiking group, and everybody's going to read it, and then we're going to talk about it. I think one thing I really believe in, if you saw the video I made on social media for this particular event, was we need more open conversations, more real conversations, and more connection. We are living in a time where we are so connected with one another, with our phones and everything that's going on, and yet we are the most disconnected. So I saw somebody speak last week, and they said, what did they say? Our isolation is overly crowded. So when we're by ourselves, we're constantly distracted by Netflix and our phones, and we're not like by ourselves anymore. And then when we're in crowds, we're the most isolated. We aren't putting ourselves out there because, I don't know, we're scared somebody's going to judge us, that we're not dressed right, that we're not going to say the right thing, that we're not perfect enough. And so we aren't looking up. and looking people in the eye and introducing ourselves and asking a stranger or someone we might, hey, you want to come work out with me? Hey, you want to grab a coffee? Hey, can you help me with this project? And we are isolating ourselves even more. And if we're going to stand up and change the world, we got to get more connected. Yeah. So, with that being said, why this book, Jess?
I wrote this book because I would say, my son's looking at me. he's like, what are you gonna say? I wrote this book because I would say accepting myself and embracing my flaws and being okay with who I am has been the greatest struggle of my life, but learning to accept them and share them in a real way with my friends and community and the people around me has been the greatest joy of my life. Discovering the belonging that happens when we show up our authentic selves and stop pretending and just share what's really going on. And
tell everybody what you told us when you first came in here about the woman that you wrote your other book with and what she said about you.
Yes. So I wrote another book with my co-author, Amy Weatherly, and she was going to interview me for a podcast, and she said, Jess, I don't know how to say this, but looking at you, I wouldn't say, there's a raging perfectionist right there. Because her and I both are kind of a hot mess. I've got stuff crammed in the side parts of my door. I'm like rolling up with like cups falling out, and I'm not super organized. People have to email me multiple times for me to remember stuff. So she's like, what does perfectionism look like for you? And so I said, first of all, I would say it looks like being a failed perfectionist and thinking all my life there was something a little bit wrong with me. Like everybody seems to be functioning in this way, I don't seem to be able to function. And even though I wasn't always I was never really hitting the mark. I was pretty bad at it. I was a terrible perfectionist, to be honest. But I always felt less than or shame because I wasn't meeting that mark. And the second thing is, I would say, is that perfectionism really shows up in my relationships and believing like I should never ever make anybody mad, or I should never ever disappoint anyone, and that's not freaking possible. It's not possible.
So I want to put this out to you guys, if anybody's willing to, like I said, we want to have a very open conversation. Has anyone, raise your hand, ever felt like they weren't hitting the mark? Yeah, look around. Isn't that amazing? Like, we and a lot of us grew up with this perfectionism mentality of like, we're not good enough, we're not doing it right. Look at that person, they've had it all together, they have it all together, but yet that person's looking at that person, while that person's thinking, I don't have it together, they're looking at that person, and this spirals. So one thing I like to say a lot is that when we show up as our authentic selves, we give other women and people permission to do the same. So why aren't we showing up more authentically and, to be honest, more vulnerably? Like, does anyone want to share what is your biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, what do you think your biggest, I don't know, flaw is? Anyone willing to like put it out there? I never return texts.
The best thing is, this was a match meant to be, because the second time we hung out, she texted me right afterwards and was like, listen, if we're going to be friends, I'm never going to text you back. I'm always going to forget. I will have texted you in my head, and I'm never going to remember your birthday, ever. So,
and I'm always late.
And I think we should all just do that.
Yeah.
We should send each other disclaimers.
I have disclaimers when we become friends. So one time I had a therapist. A therapist said to me, same as Jess, she said, you're a perfectionist. And I said, I am the least perfectionist person I know. Same thing. I'm super messy. I'm unorganized. I forget a bunch of stuff. And she said, it's the reason that you never finish things, because you're constantly starting over, because you think if you don't do it right, you have to start from the top. And so you're constantly starting over. And this is one tool that changed my life, because I realized, one, she was so right, and I was so focused on doing it right that I never got it done. So then I stopped starting over. So now a tool that I use is when I find myself, if I have a plan, if I have a goal, and I'm like, I've got 30 days to write a book or whatever it is, and I find myself messing up, I have to catch myself and become aware of like, oh, I'm not going to start over. I'm going to take this day as a loss or a mishap or whatever it is, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And moving forward rather than starting over has helped me get more stuff done. So with that being said, Jess, what are some more like practical tools that you offer up to all of us who are trying to really work on our perfectionism, even if we don't think we are perfectionists?
I would say I read this quote recently that I felt like summed it up so well. It was don't fake it till you make it, face it till you make it. And that just resounded with me so much, because the fake it till, like, that can work in certain scenarios where you really have to show up and just be there, but like in relationship, you can't fake it till you make it. And there was a lot of stuff that would hold me back because I wasn't the best at something, so I wouldn't show up and do it. But facing it till I make it means not performing, but showing up anyway. It means feeling anxious, it means feeling awkward and uncomfortable and not doing it all the right way, but doing it anyway. Just one foot in front of the other and not overthinking it. Not thinking, oh, if this I feel super awkward making this new friend, I guess I shouldn't do it. I'm not friend material. Just kidding. I won't try this again. But being like, it's awkward. So what? Keep moving forward with everything.
Yes, I love that. So often I say that confidence is what gets you to show up, but self-worth is knowing that you're okay, even if it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to. And so I think when we're talking about perfectionism, we can talk a lot about confidence and self-worth. And I want to talk about, why. So your first book, you're going to be in sweatpants. It's like, I'm going to show up as I am.
Yeah.
What comes next? What comes from this book? And what is it, the message that you want women walking away with more than anything?
Oh my gosh. I want women to feel like when you read this book, I want you to feel a giant sigh of relief and a feeling of, I'm okay. I'm okay exactly where I'm at right now with all these things I think are wrong with me or whatever. It's okay. I'm not alone. And I want us to start showing up like that more in connection with each other and sharing more openly with each other. And like you said, creating, when you're authentic, it creates space for people to also be authentic with you. And there's just so much beautiful connection and belonging that happens in that place that cannot happen anywhere else. Like, we cannot have that level of belonging and connection without also having flaws and real crap going on in our life. It just can't happen.
What was the hardest part about writing this book?
So writing it? Honestly, as I was coming out with the book, I started being a raging perfectionist. I'm like, read your own book, stop it! Why are you so stressed out? Feeling that performance anxiety and all these things that I've hit up against so much in my life. Yeah, but reminding myself again, it's okay. Perfect is boring. It's more fun if it's raining out.
Sidebar. Well done, everyone. So another connection we have is that we're both from the Midwest, and she's from Montana, and I'm from Minnesota. And when I moved here, I realized, people in Santa Barbara don't leave their house when it rains. So well done, everybody getting here. Okay, yes. And so speaking of all of this, like, perfectionism, getting outside our comfort zones. You guys knew I was here. You knew this was something was going to happen, okay? I'm actually going to...
around the block.
Yeah, everybody's burpees. No. We are going to... Okay, I'm actually going to steal this from my friend, Jane. Actually, Diana. So, okay, everybody right here, stay right there. But you guys all have to come up. and just kind of like make this like a circle. Like stand up. Yeah, we're all just gonna kind of be in a circle real quick. Okay. Yeah. Yep, you're moving. Cute skirt. Okay, so in a way to connect and get outside our comfort zones, because I think one thing that Jess and I really hope that you guys leave with is, and don't worry, we're going to continue this talk after this, but is whatever it is you haven't been doing, that maybe tonight's the night the seed has been planted that you go out and do it. Whether it's asking a friend for, or not even somebody you just know on Instagram, or a friend out for coffee, or just putting together a hiking group, doing something that maybe you haven't been doing because you've been scared. And tonight's the night that seed's going to be planted, and that maybe you wake up tomorrow and you do it. We're gonna get you a little uncomfortable, okay? Nobody can go up or down, okay? It's only with your body, all right? So it can be your hands, it can be your hips, but you can't, like, last time we did this, people wanted to tell a whole story and then, like, get down on the ground. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna say one thing and one thing only, your name, and then you're gonna do a little move, and whatever you do, everybody else has to do it. Okay? So, like, if I'm like, I'm Jenny, yeah, you guys gotta be like, yeah. Okay? All right? Whatever it is. You're gonna start only your name and one move, and it's gotta go quick.
I'm Kristen.
Oh, okay.
Wow. I'm Melissa. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Allison.
Go.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Ainsley. I'm Oakley.
I'm Graham.
I'm Natalie. I'm Aubrey.
I'm Benji.
I'm Gabby.
Scout. I'm Malachi.
I'm Maddie.
I'm Drew.
I'm Brian.
I'm Christina. I'm Hannah.
I'm Kara. I'm Red. I'm Veronica.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Dawn.
I'm Jade. Classic move here.
We're Coven.
Ginger.
I'm Allie.
I'm Rhoda. Sonia.
Carrie.
Annie.
Oh, Sandra. Diane. I'm Lisa.
I'm Gina. I'm Lisa.
I'm Jess.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Jenny. Quick feet. Come on, 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 come on. Turn to somebody, give them a high
I know. I was waiting for that.
I know, right?
I was waiting for it. Exactly.
All right, so we're gonna open it up. Where our time is almost up, but we would love questions. Jess would take anything about the book. I have one more question for you, but also a couple things is we started this by talking about connection. You know, when you open up a conversation, there is beautiful stories out there, and one thing is the way we connect more, and we all know Santa Barbara is 1 degree of separation. Everybody knows everybody, right? But how many times are you in the store and you see somebody and you're like, oh, I can't remember their name. You know, so you like look down, you don't want to say anything. Instead of being like, hey, you got to remind me of your name.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Like, why? This is what Jess's book is all about. Why are we avoiding the uncomfortable when something great could come from it? Like, you could be in the grocery store tomorrow and see somebody from tonight and be like, oh my gosh, I saw you last night. Aren't Jess and Jenny amazing? Oh my gosh, did you get our book? The more we connect, the more good things happen. So I'm going to ask a couple things. When you're out in the world, look up from your phone. Make eye contact. If you don't know somebody's name, it's never too late to ask. Put yourself out there. Ask for help. Get to know more people. And whatever you're going through, somebody else can either relate to you, they can validate you, or they can help you.
Yeah.
So don't keep that stuff down. Jess, what is saving you right now?
What is saving me? I think women. Women. The women in my life, my friends. My friend Annie here surprised me last night from Montana. She came in with my friend Aubrey, who planned the whole thing, and they came in at 10:30 at night, and I was reading a book. This is so classic. I didn't expect anything at all. I look up and I don't register. She comes and jumps next to me on the bed. Aubrey's filming. It takes me like a full minute to even see her. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. Hello. But women and how we show up for each other and how we are getting uncomfortable in our lives and stretching ourselves and always just loving so hard and going so hard. And I just think women are incredible. And Jenny just being open and willing to jump in with me and like, yes, absolutely, let's do it. First, we got to run around the block and do some burpees, and you're gonna have to learn to deadlift.
And you are.
And I am. My son's concerned. And yeah.
She's doing a great job. She's doing a great job. You never know what's gonna happen when you say yes. Yes to anything. Yes to just showing up tonight. Like, who knows? Who knows there's gonna be some kind of connection made tonight. Does anybody have any questions for Jess?
Oh, I do.
Yes.
So, you wrote, I'm sorry.
No, I love it. You're like, yes, go.
So when you were writing this book, it's what the size it is. Did you really struggle with what to keep in and what to keep out? And how did you get to your final copy? Being a perfectionist.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big deleter. I don't know. Somebody told me that along the line that it's okay to let some stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
Also, my editor was like, I worked with a different editor this time, and he taught me a lot about what, and it was cool because he didn't, because it's not like a huge book, but he didn't need me to be super, super wordy. He's like, if you say it well, let's leave it at that. Does that answer your question?
Having not read it, but yeah, that makes sense.
I also love a book that reads, like when you start reading this, you're going to be like, oh, that sounds like Jess. It reads the way that you speak. Yeah, I love it.
What are you looking forward to next?
Oh man, honestly, I've loved going to her gym. On Fitness, everyone.
Which class do you go to? I might see you there.
8:30.
Oh, perfect.
And 6:30 sometimes.
Oh, you'll see her there.
My friend Ginger is there. So, but just again, connection, and I've loved the gym. Yeah. And I don't know, the connection. Who knows what's possible when women start talking to each other and getting creative and coming up with ideas? It's very exciting.
I have to let you know, you made me think that the next time I'm doing something where I'm not feeling perfect, I'm gonna just name it. It's awkward.
Yeah.
It's scary.
So
It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
That's a
And
great
just
tool.
face it.
Yeah, well,
Till I
and
make it,
awkward was
like-
like when I really thought there was something wrong with me because I felt awkward.
But it's perfectly normal.
It's
to feel
normal.
awkward.
So like, especially with making new friendships, I would feel super awkward and like, oh gosh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm bad at this. They never want to talk to me again. But now I realized, no, most people, everything is awkward when you first start it. Everything. And just ignore it. Don't overthink it.
Or like when you go home and you like start going through what you said. So I have zero filter, and I get home and I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, yeah, like, you know, you find your people that way too. I think a really good tool, if I may interject, one really good tool is we need to invite the awkward and the fear in because it's never going to go away. So we have these two, like our inner critic and our healthy self. And your inner critic, I talk, if you don't follow me, but I talk a lot about body image. And so, and there's a lot of perfectionism, just like I said, like, you know, as women, especially, we're always looking, oh my God, look at her body. She's so blah, blah, blah. And then that person's looking at this person's body. And it's just, it's this endless cycle. And your inner critic never really goes away, but the stronger your healthy self is, the smaller and quieter that voice gets. And when you can invite in your anger, your awkwardness, and you say literally like, oh, there you are, welcome, what's going on? And you get to sit with it, it's how you go through it. Nobody gets to go completely over. If you want to change it, you've got to go through it, you have to recognize it, and you have to actually express that you know and invite it in.
I have a question for you. What did you learn newly about yourself through writing this book?
Good question.
I learned I still had a lot of insecurity in there from, because of my other books, writing it with a friend definitely was a big buffer. Because it was like, I don't know, it was putting myself out there, but not in the same way. It was like, we failed together, or we did good together. Like it wasn't, so I unearthed a lot of more insecurity and perfectionism I didn't know was still in there.
One thing too is I don't think, and this goes for men and women, but especially women. I kept saying to Jess over this week, like, are you stopping? Are you celebrating that you did this? Like, no matter how good this does on the charts, can we hear it? She wrote a freaking book! Amazing things, and then it's just like, oh well, let's see how it does. It's like, no, you did it. You did it. These people showed up for you, and
Yes,
you did it, and you're amazing. Yes. And so I think that's such an important point that maybe another seed that can be planted is, do we celebrate what we do?
Yeah.
Even in the
Celebrate
smallest
each
things.
other.
Celebrate each other.
I'll never forget, quick story, when I first started writing, I'd always wanted to be a writer. My friend, I didn't know what to write though. I had a bunch of little kids, and my friend was like, you should be a mommy blogger. I'm like, ew, that sounds like the most boring thing that's ever happened. But she was right, because I just needed to write what was going on in my life. And I will never forget one of my first posts. It got like 2,000 views or something. And all my friends were watching it like, I saw another like. And then they all came over that night, and we had a fire and we toasted Oreos, and we celebrated together. And I think that is another really beautiful thing in community is choosing to celebrate each other in those like little moments. Because I'll never forget that. Otherwise, I would not remember that post at all.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Any other questions? As we close this up, Jess and I both want to say thank you so much for showing up in the rain in Santa Barbara. I know how difficult that is. I really appreciate you guys. Jess, what is just one thing you would like everybody to leave with?
The feeling of I'm valuable and I have everything that I need going forward. Thank you guys so much for coming. It means a lot to me. And thank you, Jenny, for being amazing and showing up tonight in a big way. Like, this was way above and beyond. Am I right? They're gonna try and hire you professionally just to be the book interviewer. Thank you.